Hi, this is Garvey Campbell and you are watching Carnival Network. Now, being a soca artist is not easy. Many soca artists today actually have jobs and can't rely on their music career as their sole source of income. So, why are soca artists sometimes making 2 or 3 tracks per month while they're still not getting any money from their music, while artists from other music genres make 1 album and make money from it? And if the music is really good, they can make money from it for years to come. So that's what we're going to be tackling in this video. Why is it that soca artists aren't making money on their music? So before we tackle this subject, we've got to travel back in time a little bit. Back in the day, if you wanted to listen to music inside your house and not listen to the radio, you needed to use one of these, or one of these. As we mentioned in our previous video, the internet came along and changed absolutely everything. It meant that distributing music was a lot easier, it meant that making music was a lot easier, and it also meant that listening to music and playing music was a lot easier. The internet even changed the publishing of music, because back in the day you needed to have a publishing company in order to publish your music. In fact, each publishing company had a publishing territory, basically a region of the world where they would manage how the music was put out there, how the music was sold, who would be making money from music, etc. Each publishing company had a publishing region of the world where they would be dealing with that. But once the internet came along, publishing companies were no longer the only way of getting your music out there and published. The internet came along and changed absolutely everything. People could now go online and publish their music for less money or sometimes for free. So for the benefit of people who are unfamiliar with the music industry and how you can make money as a music artist, there are basically 2 ways that you can make money. One of the ways is through your performances, being paid for your performances, and the other is being paid for your music. Now, if you're going to make money primarily from your music, it's going to be your performances that are going to be used as your form of marketing and advertising. The idea being that people see you perform, and as a result of your performance, they rush out and go and buy your music. But if it's going to be your performances that make money for you mainly, and that's what you know where your focus lies, it basically means that your music is going to be what's used as your marketing and your advertising. The idea being there is that you put out as much of your music as possible, for as cheap or for as free as possible. Someone sees it, and as a result, you get bookings for performances and for public appearances. Performances are good because they're fun. They show that you're not just someone who's a talented performer, but someone who's actually an entertainer as well. It really brings you closer to your crowd, your fans, your audience. However, the downside of relying on performances to bring your regular money coming in is that you're going to need to be performing in order to bring that money in regularly. That means that anytime you're not performing, you're not making money. Music sales, on the other hand, are a great way of making music. You can make music in loads of different countries, because once you've made that tune and it goes out there and it's being sold, whether it's via the internet or however, you're making money even when you're not working, you're not having to perform, you're not having to sing, you're not having to do whatever you need to do when you're performing. The downside of this is, in order to create a tune that is, good enough to go out and appeal to loads of people all over the world, it needs to be made to a certain standard. That means you're going to need a lot more resources, a lot more input from people who are contributing to make the tune, of that standard and of that quality. But it also means that you're going to be making less music. So with this understood, it's quite clear that making money through your music is a better way of making regular income as opposed to performances. Because unlike performances, you can be making money from your music while you sleep. Now, money can be made from your music through 4 types of royalties. And royalties are basically checks that come through the post to music artists for the music being reproduced or used. These are mechanical. This is where royalties are paid based upon the physical reproduction of the music. Public performance royalties, and this basically pertains to any performance of copyrighted material, which can include airing music on radio, live performances, performances recorded on film or television or music, or played over stereos or in public places. Synchronization royalties are paid for copyrighted music that is paired with any kind of visual media of any kind. This means films, commercials, online streaming, videos and adverts. And finally, there's print music. And this is basically royalties that apply to any copyrighted music that is transcribed to a print piece, like a sheet of music. So it's easy to see how the internet and the rise of technology has affected the revenue streams that music artists traditionally went to in order to make a living from their music career. And it also explains why many soca artists now are actually giving away their music as much as possible in order to get themselves noticed. As a result of this, though, soca music is growing faster than ever, but it is being affected negatively in a number of ways. But before I go into this, for the purpose of this video, we're going to have to make a distinction between what is good music and what is great music. Now, good music is music that is enjoyed, loved by the people who follow a particular genre of music or a particular culture, that the music is associated with. That's actually what we would call good music. Great music, on the other hand, is music that stands the test of time. There's been a lot of work put into it, and as a result, it doesn't only appeal to people who are part of the genre or the culture that music is associated with, but it also now appeals to people who are outside of that genre of music, outside of the culture. It basically is music that stands the test of time and can also cross over into the mainstream. And we're making this distinction because the music that we like and enjoy and what we think of as good music can be pretty subjective. But one of the ways that you can definitely measure how good a tune is, in an objective fashion, is how well people who don't actually listen to that music accept it, and also if it stands the test of time as well. Examples of great tunes from the Caribbean, you could go to any of Bob Marley's tunes. There are a lot of people who don't listen to reggae, but they know about Bob Marley and they like his music. If you want to talk about music from other Caribbean islands, you have the Baha Men, who created the tune Who Let the Dogs Out. That crossed over into the mainstream and was actually used in quite a few adverts as well. And also you've got tunes like Hot Hot Hot, which is a well-known soca tune that, again, people who don't listen to soca, don't listen to calypso normally, they'll recognize that tune if they hear it. Those are examples of great tunes, great music. So what's happening now as a result of all of this? Well, number one, it's now harder than before for soca artists to get themselves noticed and really stand out from the crowd. If you're not an artist who was able to establish themselves in the 90s, when CDs were just coming to the end of their run, their popular use, then it's going to be really hard for you as a soca artist to actually get yourself out there and stand out from the crowd. Number two is that it's really hard now for great artists to be separated from good artists, because back in the day, obviously, great artists would have been artists that have been discovered by a music company, and then as a result they'd be pushed out there, and that would be who you see representing that genre of music. Today, everyone who wants to be a musician or someone who is making music can do so. All they will need is access to the right technology. One of the other things is that in order to now compete with everyone else, it's now just not about quality, it's also about quantity. Because for anyone out there who hasn't made music for a certain amount of time, it's quite easy for them to get forgotten amongst all of the other people who are cranking out as much music as possible. As I said before, also, the creation of music is also a lot easier. Back in the day, if you were, say, from Trinidad, the music that you would have to back your singing or your performance would be created on the island. Technology now means that you can outsource the creation of the music that you're using for your performance and for your track. This means that you're experiencing a decline of live bands being used to create music, because obviously that takes a little bit more investment of time and effort, and you're seeing an increase in the amount of EDM tunes that are being placed out there. EDM basically means music that's created electronically as opposed to being played live. But one of the knock-ons of this is that, unlike back in the day where the tune would be created alongside the lyrics and the song and the performance of that song, they'd pretty much be created together. It now means that rhythms are designed so that pretty much anyone who has the talent, the ability to ride a rhythm, can get on that rhythm and basically, do what they need to do to perform and turn it into a track. But this means that you experience less harmonies, less melodies, because those things are usually built around the artist you know, by the person who's creating the music. And a good example of this is that, you know, one of the things that makes a tune really memorable is usually the melody or the harmony, because it's what makes it really stand out. If you look at a lot of the tunes from back in the 90s, they had melodies and harmonies built into it to make it memorable. That's why when it plays, even if you don't know the name of the tune, you recognize it instantly because of that melody or that harmony. What you'll notice with a lot of music that's being produced today, that lack of melody, that lack of harmony inside the tune means that although it's a good tune and is enjoyable and you can dance to it, you can get down to it, it's less likely to be something that you're able to remember based purely off of listening to a few bars of that tune. Lastly, one of the negative effects of all of this is that up-and-coming artists now lack a clear direction for where they want their music career to grow. And what I mean by this is, back in the day, it was pretty much set out. You would create music, play out in as many places as possible, you know, get your music out there as much as possible. And it was all in the hopes that you'd be picked up by a music company who would take you on board. You'd get a music deal or a record deal, a contract, and that was basically where it was. That was the goal for, you know, you getting into the music scene and creating music. The internet now means a lot of that stuff is now fallen by the wayside, because it does mean that music artists now can do a lot of this stuff by themselves. So this is the situation that we find ourselves in today. Because of how things are, a lot of soca artists are actually giving away their music, and some of them are actually paying people to give away their music.
Hey, don't worry, there's nothing wrong with your internet connection. If you'd like to see the rest of this video, we'll be posting it up on Wednesday the 3rd of October. In the meantime, if you've enjoyed what you've seen so far, then subscribe to our YouTube channel and click the little bell icon so you don't miss any of our new videos. This is Garvey Campbell and you have been watching Carnival Network.